And then a big one, Saturday night, the 49ers, 9.5-point favorites hosting the Green Bay Packers. Ziggy, everyone knows it. The Packers have their work cut out for them. People have been talking all week about the 49ers as if they're Ivan Drago from Rocky IV. And we're trying to figure out whether these guys are machine or man. And there are ways that Green Bay can attack this 49ers defense. I'm sorry, that Green Bay can attack this San Francisco offense to throw them off, because we all know the weapons. You look at the all-pro team and you just go, holy crap. It's half of it's 49ers players. They're just loaded everywhere. Debo, McCaffrey, Kittle, Ayuk. It's just a loaded roster. But there are some themes in the 49er losses this year. And I went back and looked at it today. In games where they have 125 yards or less on the ground, that's 2-5 record for San Francisco. At the Browns, 108 yards. At the Vikings, obviously, you guys know we shut them down, 65 yards. The Bengals, 113. Ravens, 121. This is an offense that averages 140.5 on the ground per game. That's third in the league. And we said before the show started, obviously, it's much easier said than done slowing down McCaffrey, who's an MVP candidate this season. But that's where you have to start, because if you can't slow them down on the ground, they're going to tear you to pieces. And perhaps no one understands this better. It's a different team, but the Packers playoff game, what was it, 2020, I believe? I remember I was in Italy at the time, so I was studying abroad. I couldn't watch the game. But San Francisco ran for 280 yards in that game. Jimmy Garoppolo didn't throw the ball. If you can't slow them down there, they'll pick you apart.
Yeah, and it's just, you're right that that's what you have to do. Packers fans can't be happy hearing that. Because again, if there's been a complaint all season with the Joe Barry defense, it's been how much they've struggled against the run. And while the Packers defense has improved quite a bit over the past few weeks, they haven't faced a challenge quite like this. It's one thing to have a decent run defense performance against like Chuba Hubbard or whatever Tony Pollard is now, or like Khalil Herbert. But Christian McCaffrey, as you say, is clearly the best running back in the league. And it's very difficult to slow him down. You're going to have to hope that you can find a way to do this. The Packers do at least have some decent players on the edge. It's going to be that performance in the middle of the field to watch.
Yeah, and I'm also circling the one other thing that I found that's common in 49ers losses this year. It's a Brock Purdy interception. How often do we see Brock Purdy go out there and he's just perfect for this 49ers offense? So you're not asking him to do a whole lot, but it does take a lot of skill to be perfect in the NFL, which he is most of the time. But when he throws an interception, they're 2-4 this year. Look at the Vikings, Bengals, and Ravens game. He had 2 or more in those. You can get under the skin of Brock Purdy. He's not an unflappable quarterback. And you could go watch the Ravens game. If you can get pressure on him, 3 of the 4 interceptions are tipped at the line of scrimmage. You have to get to him. So there's a challenge there for Rashawn Gary. There's a challenge there for Preston Smith and Kenny Clark to make some noise. If you can get in his face, bat some balls up in the air, that's how you're going to win this game. Green Bay, we're honest on this podcast. That's the one thing that we always try and be. Green Bay is not, they don't match up with the 49ers particularly well.
Not like they did against the Cowboys.
Not like the Cowboys. So for them to have a shot in this, some people are going to have to lose their mind up front, and they're just going to need to dominate the trenches. I think they can do it. I think they can get pressure and make some plays. This 49ers offense isn't unstoppable. But would you agree with that pressuring Purdy is the main objective of the Packer defense after stopping the run?
That is. You need a lot of things to go right. Sort of like you needed a lot of things to go right in the Cowboys game, but they did. You need to slow down Christian McCaffrey. You don't have to completely stop him, but you need to make it such that the 49ers have to drop back sometimes. No more Jimmy Garoppolo 3 pass attempts for the game.
Oh,
once you do that, that was outrageous.
Well, that was an anomaly. It felt like that game was just ridiculous.
But once you do that, you have to get pressure. And the good news for the Packers here is that defensive performance in the NFL is not steady at all. And we've seen it even just watching the Packers this season. Every week they're up, every week they're down. You never know what it's going to be. But they do have talent. And as long as you've got talent, you can hope to catch the variance bug and play pretty well. And given how hot they've been, you can't rule that possibility out.
Oh, the pass rush has been red hot. 4 sacks against Dak last week. I think they were second in QB hits or hurries. They're ranking very highly in the metrics over the past 3 weeks in terms of getting to the quarterback, which was not the case earlier in the season. So, you have your work cut out for you against this 49ers offense for sure. But you're just going to need some guys to step up. At the end of the day, we do expect a lot of points from San Francisco. But the good news for the Packers is that Jordan Love is arguably the hottest quarterback in the NFL. And, this could turn into a shootout. The conditions are supposed to be rainy. When you look at Jordan Love versus the 49er defense, are you confident that his hot streak is going to continue against a much improved secondary from earlier in the year?
I think Jordan Love's going to have a good game. The problem is that Jordan Love doesn't need to have a good game. He needs to have a perfect game. The kind of game that he was having against the Cowboys. If this were earlier in the season, I'd actually feel pretty good. In particular, because the 49ers had struggled for a pretty long time at nickel and slot corner. Unfortunately, and you can talk to any 49ers fans, they'll tell you this. Right around week 10, there was a big shift. Instead of playing Ambry Thomas at nickel, or instead of playing Ambry Thomas at slot corner, they put him at nickel. Instead of playing Diamador Lenore at nickel, they put him at slot. And since then, it has been extremely difficult to throw against this defense. They had one big weakness right there at slot corner, which is something the Packers could absolutely exploit, right? We saw it last week. Their guys, shifty after the catch, very effective.
And so many weapons, yeah.
I just worry that given how well the 49ers secondary has been, the Bengals and the Vikings' success against the 49ers is not going to be replicable.
Yeah, they're different teams. They're a different team than during that 3-game losing streak that they had earlier in the season. They've made the changes necessary to get better there. And along the line, too, they add in Chase Young. And now all across there, it looks like Arik Armstead, from what I've seen, is trending towards playing. But with Armstead, Hargraves, Young, Bosa, and that you got your work cut out for you. Luckily for Green Bay fans, their offensive line has been playing really good football lately. Most of the year, but lately they've been really good. You talked about Zach Tom on the previous show. I'm looking for the Packers. If I were a Packer fan, I would be looking to establish Aaron Jones. And another thing, easier said than done, but 49ers have the third best rushing defense in football. Aaron Jones, on the other hand, has gone for over 100 yards in 4 straight games. He's dominated on the ground, and he's fairly fresh too from missing a fair bunch of the season.
Well, it's going to be important for the Packers to not fall behind the 49ers much, because while you say they're the 4th best in the league, and they are by yards per game, the reason for this is because teams throw against the 49ers more than any other team. The rush defense per play has actually been really poor. Right? They're only 25th in the league in EPA per play against the run. So the fact is they do have a vulnerability here. They've got excellent pass rushers, and if they get ahead big early, you have no choice but to throw. But there's a decent chance that Aaron Jones has a good game here, as long as the Packers can keep it together.
I think he'll have a good game. The way he's been playing is out of this world. If someone commented they love the 33 talk, Aaron Jones is one of the more underrated players in football. I've said time and time again on this podcast. And if you're able to get stuff going on the ground there, that's when all of a sudden Jordan Love can start attacking more downfield. We've seen him hit on every throw in the game over the past few weeks.
Yeah.
And that's where you have those 4 weapons on the outside and Musgrave. That's when it could be really fun. And I think that you're going to see, if the Packers win this playoff game, dude, I think they're going to go to the Super Bowl, because this is the test right here. This is the cream of the crop in the NFC. Everybody knows it. A lot of people are expecting a big 49ers win. If Green Bay wins this one, the mentality around that team, they're going to be on top of the world, and going into, they'll be, oh, Detroit? Okay, yeah, sure. We can take on Detroit. We own those guys. This is the big test to me. If they win this one, I don't think they will. We'll do our game prediction here. You have to take San Francisco. Unless you're a Packer fan, you're going to take the 49ers. But I think it'll be a good game. I do not expect Green Bay to get run out of the building like a lot of people do. They're just playing good football. They're playing really good football. So I have San Francisco probably by a touchdown.
There are a lot of game scripts that can go poorly for the Packers, and we'll talk more in a video that's coming out later this week on exactly what game script the Packers need to win the game, their keys. But I think there are enough scripts where things go well that the Packers can keep it competitive. Are they going to win? I just don't think so. I said last week, I'm high on this Packers team. I thought they matched up very well against the Cowboys. I thought for sure they were going to win.
Oh, they did.
Turns out they did. I just think this is going to be different. And as good as this Packers team has been, playing a 49ers team, first or second best team in the NFL, with rest, with Kyle Shanahan, who has consistently had LaFleur's number in the game planning and coaching, even Packers fans, I think, are going to have a tough time taking their team winning this week.
And a lot of Packers fans, too, from everything we've seen, they have been very reasonable with this, approaching this game, saying, we're just excited. And that's the fun part for them right now, is they're just excited to be here. So there's not a lot of pressure on this Green Bay team to come in. No one expects them to win. No one expects them to win except the people in that building. And that's really all that matters, is when Jordan Love thinks he can win, that adds, like, that's the most important guy in the building that you want to believe. And they think that right now. But if they lose this game, you go back and it's an unbelievably successful season. It doesn't matter, but they have a chance. They have a chance in this one.